This is part 2 of another day in Naftaville. And this is Eagle Ottawa Leather Company. At one time they did up to 50,000 hides per week there. I worked there 27 years and I figured out that in my 27 years I handled the equivalent of 20 million head of cattle. But this closed down thanks to NAFTA and thanks to CAFTA, and now this is an example of CHEAPO. And it closed down in 2006. I was basically forced out of here due to lack of what I could do physically, and all that was left is the wet end, and this is all that's left of the wet end. Ironically, this is symbolic of what has happened to this country. At one time, the United States was a powerhouse economically in the world. But thanks to greedy men and a Congress of both Republicans and Democrats, this is what's left of the economy, just a pile of rubble. And while I was working over here, I was making a minimum of $11 an hour, up to $27 an hour, depending upon what it was that I had to do. I had medical care. I had health insurance. I had prescription drugs that only cost me $15 a month for, as I recall, about $600 worth of medicine. But that's gone. And now what's left? $7 an hour jobs, no benefits, low pay, long hours, horrible working conditions. Part-time. They want to work you, if you're lucky to get 36 hours, they'll work you 36 hours and then tell you to go home. Why? Because then they don't have to pay benefits. In the meantime, the Bill Gateses and the rest that occupy Wall Street are talking about, they get richer. I am right now economically drawing the same wage scale that I was when I started out here, and that was $7.35 an hour. That's all that's left. You know, I'll tell you, I was paying a lot more taxes when I was making $14 an hour than what's left out there now. But Congress don't care. We have a government for the government, to the government, and by the government, and they do not care, period. As far as I'm concerned, we can fire them all. Fire them all. Get rid of the Republicans, get rid of the Democrats, and get rid of that bozo we have for a president. Now we'll go over at the other part and show you some other things. Here's another good example of the U.S. economy represented right here. These big drums up here, that's where I worked on my last day here. Those are lime drums. They had some cement mixers which are located right along this wall over there, and they help burn the hair off the hides. And then we did the same thing with the lime to make two different kinds of leather here. And this over here was the beam house. This is where up to 50,000 head of cattle were processed here every single week. And at one time we had a working force of close to 1,200 people that worked here out of a 3-shift operation. But as you can see, that's gone. You know, and this is what's wrong with the United States government. We have President Obama that goes around and worried about the euro. I don't give a hoot about the euro. I give a hoot about this country. He don't. You know, everybody, the Republicans are saying, we're going to create jobs. We're going to create jobs. The Democrats say, we're going to create jobs. All the candidates, we're going to create jobs. We're going to create jobs. So isn't that ironic that the very people that are saying we're going to create all these jobs are the people that sent them to Mexico and overseas? Shame, shame. You know, when I was in high school, we had something was called the Harvest of Shame. Well, this is Profits of Shame. I'm going to tell you something. Bill Gates needs a tax cut like somebody suffering dysentery needs X-Lax. Honest to goodness. So this is all that's left. This here is part of the PDS department, one of the other last places that I worked, and we made leather finish there. And so we're just going to take a little walk around here. You know, if it wasn't for policies like the stupid federal government has, the Social Security system would be in a lot better shape than it is now. But because they allowed all these outsourcing and all this downsizing, and which happened here too, there's not that money to come. There might be some that are listening to this and would recognize my voice and probably worked with me over here, and I had a response to one of them that did. And I'd have to admit, I really hated this place. You know, after a while, the money that you earn here, the excessive overtime, 60, 70 hours a week after week after week, mandatory, you know, it gets on your nerves. And that was my main reason for hating this place. But it was a place where you could be a high school dropout and earn a really decent wage. A lot of you like that new car smell with the leather, and leather by itself does not have any smell. The smell that you like, you can thank me for, because I used to mix it right up here on the side, on that floor up there. It happens to be some kind of an oil, and there's about 3 or 4 chemicals that I had to put in there, and the rest was water. But the government goes through and they say, well, you know, the productivity is up, but we can't figure out why on earth that the employment rate is staying flat, that unemployment won't go away. Well, you see, the reason is because of forced overtime. Because the overtime hours that they force a person to work, they do not have to pay benefits on. And so they end up getting cheap labor. And that's the reason why. They downsize and downsize and downsize, and then they dump all the work on the people that are still here. So in reality, it becomes kind of a voluntary slavery. You see, that's what it is. And to be fair to Eagle Ottawa Leather Company, they're not the only ones that do that. That's the norm right now. And then they want to fix it so that they can say, well, you know, you don't like it? Quit. Well, they know exactly what's out there. You can't quit, because what's out there, is minimum wage jobs. That's what it's come to. Period. That was one of the offices up there. Okay. This department here is known as Part Finish, and they will put a coat on there on the flesh. That's where the meat used to be, and that kept the finish from going all the way through the hide. And they also did a base coat on there, and that was done over here. And this here is the main gate. Right through here, the clock house, where I used to clock in. It used to be known as Eagle Ottawa Leather Company World Headquarters. The company's still around. It's in Rochester. And right over here, and these windows over there, that's the personnel department, and these are offices. This building up here used to be known as Final Finish. That's where they'll put the final coats on there. This is known as the Dryin. And I was a Dryin employee. These things up here, we call them a space shuttle. What they are, when they had the spray machines in there, they had a waterfall. And so they'll take put a blower with air going through there, and the air would go through a waterfall, and that would wash out the contaminants, and then it would go down to the sewer down there, and then the gases were vented out to the top, which is mainly air. And that was their filtration system up here. They had 3 double spray machines up here. Later on they had roller coaters, which is another process. And there you can see that they're about ready to tear this down too. Here's some more of the duct work that was throughout the plant. And that's the other spray machine that was over there. And you can see they're getting ready to demolish this. Right there, that's the shipping department where I would load horses of leather. There was anywhere from 160 to 240 pieces of leather on each wheeled horse, and that would go off to Rochester, Michigan, or what is called Mastercraft. And then there was also 3 trucks a week, as I recall, that took the processed leather over here and shipped it down to Ottawa, Mexico, where Eagle Ottawa had and still might have it there, a finishing plant and a wet end down there. But that's one of the places that I worked there. Sorry about that. that I worked at. Okay, right here. That's the shipping department. And then there are actually 3 floors up here that you can see. Okay. But this place is in shambles, and so is the American economy. And you can thank Congress for that, because they're more concerned. They don't care about your family. They don't care about your life. They don't care that you're going to lose your house. 27 years is a long time to devote your time to someplace. And there are still guys that are around that I see that I used to work with, and they have a get-together. Sorry about the panning here. They have a get-together at a local restaurant for breakfast twice a month, and I went over there to visit them and to dispel the rumor that went around that I passed away, which if I did, it's news to me. But anyway, and that there is a low air makeup unit to help with the ventilation. And this is the municipal sewage plant at Grand Haven, of which Eagle Ottawa is a main customer. And that big pile of dirt there, that's what's left of the wet end. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Congress ain't worth nothing. You know, the Democrats are scum. The Republicans are definitely scum. And instead of having, you know, Occupy Wall Street, we ought to have Fire Congress. Fire Congress. You know, fire them all. Get rid of them. Because, you know, they don't care. They sold this country right down the drain. Period. And so, you know, I wish that Occupy Wall Street would get off the streets in their tent village and start renting a hall and have a convention. Period. But this is the example of the world economy. You see, this is what happens. So, keep that in mind. Get out and vote, because if you don't vote, then you put some jackass in there you don't want.
Right there on the job. They used to tell me I was building with peace and glory ahead. Why should I be standing just waiting for breath? I made it run against time. Once I built a railroad, and now it's done, but I guess never done. Once I built a tower way up to the sun, With bricks and mortar and lime. Once I built a railroad, and now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? In khaki suits, gee, we look swell. Full of that Yankee doodling pub. A million boots went flogging through